you know, you have to take care of your career. I'm not saying to give up your career or your education, that's not the point. But devote a little bit of time for eternity. If we are eternal, if we are convinced that we are eternal beings, then we should also put some effort into freeing ourselves from illusion. Now we take on so much information, we hear so many things on the television or in the internet, we get so much information, and you know, everybody's writing nowadays. You know, nowadays people are watching the screen even when they're cycling. You know, so why not? You know, if you're devoting so much time to a little screen, why not? You know, put some sense on the screen like Bhagavad Gita. Read this instead. Then we can further our advancement towards eternity instead of just further entangling ourselves into this material world. So the question is, we have to act, but we should act in such a way to free ourselves. Just like the old, the Greeks who said, by knowledge you shall become free. So it's true, by knowledge you shall become free, but it has to be transcendental knowledge coming down through the parampara. There has to be a connection back to Krishna through the disciplic succession, or as they say in Danish, so that's why this Krishna consciousness movement is potent in the sense that it's coming down in an unbroken chain of disciples. So the knowledge which is given here in this movement is potent. Not because any of us here are any different from anybody else. We are also just normal people. We took this knowledge and we felt some advancement. So we want to give that knowledge further. So our duty here in this Krishna consciousness movement is basically to give this knowledge in the form of these books. So if you want, you can buy some of these books and read them. And I guarantee that it will be a positive experience. I think there's an article here in 5 minutes, right? The altar will open in 5 minutes, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
So maybe 5 minutes for questions, if there's any short question. Nothing, I've bewildered everybody totally. Yeah?
I would like to say that there is also appearance of Radha Kund, so you can say something.
Oh, Radha Kund, this appearance of Radha Kund. Yeah, that's a technical thing. In India, where Krishna was appearing 5,000 years ago in Vrindavan, close to Delhi, there is a lake called Radha Kund, where Krishna's foremost devotee, Radharani, takes her bath, and it's a very holy place. And if you bathe in that holy water, you will definitely attain pure devotional service, even though in the external appearance it just looked like a lake in India, a little arranged lake. But it's a very holy place, and it was there when Krishna lived on the planet 5,000 years ago, and it kind of disappeared by time, but was excavated by around 500 years ago by Rupa Goswami and some of the disciples in the disciplic succession. And I once was in that lake, Radhakund, and I took some water. It was in 1988, and I still have that water in the same bottle, and it's still fresh. That's interesting, huh? It's still fresh. Or if you take Ganges water, it's the same. You put it in a bottle. I've had Ganges water for 20 years, and it never goes bad, because it's spiritual water. Yeah, it's spiritual. There's no explanation other than that. It's spiritual. So Radhakund water is also like that. It's spiritual. It never goes bad. So you bathe in that water or even drink a little of that water, one will become very benefited. But it's even said that even though the Ganges water is very pure and never becomes bad, even it's not as purifying as the Hare Krishna mantra. So all these things, Hare Krishna mantra, reading about these things, Radhakund for example, all these things are very, very auspicious and very interesting, very intellectually stimulating, so it's recommended for everyone to get into studying the science of Krishna consciousness. Is that okay? Yeah, there's many stories. I don't know all these stories, how it was built. Yeah, I remember that story. I don't know the details about it because it's such a long time ago. There's no time for it now. It's just yeah. So another small question, maybe. Otherwise, you just
You said you can stay in the material world for a lifetime, millions of lives.
Yeah, if you want to.
But if you receive this knowledge and you accept this knowledge to be true, are you not pushed actually? Are you not
making progress like automatically.
Yeah, but if you don't want to, if you have to want to go back to Krishna, otherwise he won't force you. But if you study this knowledge, it's true. If you're in a humble state of mind, study this knowledge, you will develop a desire to go back to Godhead. But if you don't make the effort to want to do it, why is it Krishna? Krishna does not force anyone. Everything is free. Devotional service is completely free. And actually, Rupa Goswami says in the Nectar of Devotion that even though you may introduce devotional service to many disciples, sometimes devotional service doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. With some individuals, it doesn't happen. They're called unfortunate. So the desire has to be there. And sometimes the soul desires too much to stay in the material world, and then Krishna lets the soul. But of course, this little contact with spiritual knowledge will gradually purify the soul, and at last, he will of course go back to Godhead. But consciously wanting something helps very much. Like if you want to make a big career, it's the desire that's the most thing, that you actually want to do it. That's the driving force. If you don't want to do something, why should you do it? It's very difficult to do something you don't want to do, even though somebody convinces you that it's right, but you don't really believe it, but you want to do it because your friends want to do it and you want to be with your friends. That's not enough. It's a start, but you have to want to do it. Therefore it's important to study the pure devotee. And Srila Prabhupada, who is a pure devotee, when he wrote these books, when he writes these books, he actually is channeling Krishna himself. So when you're reading these books, you're actually listening to God himself talk, so to speak, through his pure devotee. So it's actually quite simple. It's not intellectually too difficult, but it's very deep. So everybody should buy the Bhagavad Gita and the whole Srimad Bhagavatam also. And if you can't read and don't want to read, you can download these books in audio format from krishna/online.dk. It's where we put our radio shows. Most of the books are in lydbogs form, in the form of sound books, reading for the radio, so that's also possible. But it's even better to read the books yourself and buy them. Because if you buy the books, then you help the temple economically also. So I think we should stop here. Now there's another little chanting before the deity, before we also have something to eat. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So a big thank you to Yadunandana Prabhu for a wonderful lecture. If you all can kindly stand up and take your chairs and put the chair against the walls and your little cushions with also so that we can get ready for the kirtan.
Jetzt